Hey everyone, Boogeyman Pen. Hope everyone's doing well, having a nice evening. This video is a little bit different from the ones that I typically do. This is actually a video response to a YouTuber. Her name is LunariaClair, or that's her username, and she's another Bay Area YouTuber like myself. And she did a video talking about her top 10 horror comedy films. So it's kind of horror with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, those types of films. I've talked about a few of these before in my other videos, but I thought I'd do a video response to her and give her my top 10. So, Claire, I hope you enjoy this, and I'll put a link to her video in the underbar below. So, let's just get started then. So, coming in at number 10 is a movie that a lot of people don't talk about, and it surprises me with all the Sam Raimi films, or fans that I see, and see do videos and everything, but Drag Me to Hell. I think Drag Me to Hell is a great film. It's got that dark humor, and it actually is a very scary film. A lot of people wrote this movie off because it was PG-13 when it came out. They expected a hard R Sam Raimi film, a la, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 1 and 2. But this one is actually really a fun film. I think it's got a lot of great humor in it, and it's actually a really scary film as well. It balances it very well. So, people who haven't checked it out, Drag Me to Hell is number 10 for me. Coming in at number 9, it's another film I don't hear a lot of people talk about, which I think is very underappreciated, and that is The Frighters by Peter Jackson. I remember when this film came out in 1996, and it was one of those films where I think a lot of people thought it was just going to be a comedy, and it had Michael J. Fox in it. It was actually one of his last starring roles in actually a theatrical film, live action. And I think this film is great. It's got a great balance of, again, the comedy and the humor. Michael J. Fox does a great job of being dramatic and funny at the same time. And it's actually, it was a great showcasing of Peter Jackson, who I had never heard of before when I saw this. And then, of course, 4 years later, he would release the Lord of the Rings films. So, yeah, just a great film. If you haven't seen The Frighters, I definitely recommend checking it out. Number 8, I think this is more in the comedy realm than the horror, but The Burbs. I think The Burbs is such a fun film, and it's not a film that you really get as a kid. I saw this film when I was really young. I was about 14 when this movie came out, and I just didn't really get it. But now that I'm older and I live in kind of a suburban neighborhood, I really get it. And just the whole thing with the Klopex and everything next door. I mean, it's just a fun film, and Bruce Dern in this film just almost steals the movie. He is so funny in this film, and I love Tom Hanks in this film too. Just a kind of the gullible kind of neighbor who just is always suspecting of his neighbors, and just how cul-de-sac kind of communities are. They're always nosy, and I think it just is a fun little film, and it's got some creepy moments in it, but more than anything, this is a comedy. So if you haven't seen The Burbs, definitely recommend this one. This is another film that I think doesn't get the praise that it deserves, and that's Dr. Giggles with Larry Drake. I remember when this film came out, and it would completely bomb. No one saw it. But it's actually, I think this one has some. I actually think this one has some really good scary scenes in it, and Larry Drake is just completely over the top as Dr. Giggles. There's some good gore in it, and like I said, lots of humor, and it's a fun little film. So if you really want to check out something that's a little bit deranged and kind of fun at the same time, check out Dr. Giggles. Very fun film. One of my favorite films, and like I've said before, I don't like a lot of zombie films, but this definitely was one that was a little bit different, and that is Night of the Creeps. Just a really fun film. Tom Atkins in this is great. There's just some great one-liners in this, like Thrill Me. He's just so good in this film, and this film is very creepy in parts, very gory in parts, but has a lot of great 80s humor in it. So if you haven't checked this one out, definitely recommend Night of the Creeps. Very, very fun film. I've liked it since the first time I saw it when I was about 13 years old, so definitely check it out. Next one on my list is Piranha, which is the Piranha remake that came out about 3 years ago. This is a very fun film, and I think that's what I'm looking for in this, this type of video. I'm just talking about fun films. There's a lot of good gore in this film. There are some really scary moments because I don't like being in the water for something, unless it's a pool. I don't really like being in the water because I never know what's swimming around me. So that really kind of tenses me up when I watch this film. But there's some great performances, like Jerry O'Connell in this is really, really funny. Ving Rhames is great in this film. Christopher Lloyd is actually great in this film. So you got some really, really good performances in this film. A lot of great gore, a lot of great action, and some really funny times. And number 4 is Beetlejuice. Now, I know you talked about this one too, Claire. Yeah, Beetlejuice is, I remember seeing this film when I was a kid, and I've talked about it before, but it was, you know, it's one of my favorite Tim Burton films of all time, and of course it's Michael Keaton, who I knew at the time when this came out as Mr. Mom, and just, you know, this was just such a fun movie, and I did not see Michael Keaton in any part of this performance. He was Beetlejuice, and I'm hoping that they do make the sequel to Beetlejuice that I've heard a rumor about. I hope it comes to par. I hope Tim Burton and Michael Keaton are both involved, or I have no desire to see it. So yeah, Beetlejuice, love this film. Next is, and I picked this one because I think a lot of people going into it thought it was going to be one thing, and then it turned out to be another, and it put a lot of people off. But that's From Dusk Till Dawn. This one starts out as like a crime movie, and has a lot of great humor in it. I think it was actually a great performance by George Clooney. It was actually performance that I actually became a fan of him, and because I wasn't watching ER at the time, and I heard at the time he was announced to be the next Batman, and unfortunately Batman and Robin was horrible, but I didn't believe that he could be Batman, and then I saw this movie and I was like, oh, he's a great actor, he could do a lot. Unfortunately, like I said, Batman and Robin was a horrible film, but I love this film. I think there's some great moments in this. You also have great genre vets in this, like makeup. You have Tom Savini, you have Greg Nicotero. You have some great performances by, of course, George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis. Just a tremendous cast, excellent film, great vampire film, and one of my all-time faves. And we are going to stay with the vampires for my number 2 spot, and that is Fright Night. Love, love, love Fright Night. One of the best vampire movies ever made. My second favorite vampire film after Salem's Lot. Just love this film, 100% love Evil Ed, Stephen Jeffries, just a huge fan of him. Love Jerry Dandridge's character, Chris Sarandon's amazing. Peter Vincent, played by the late great Roddy McDowall, and Charlie Brewster, of course, played by William Ragsdale. Just an amazing cast. Lots of great humor, lots of great gore, and just a great 80s film. If you haven't seen it, what the heck are you waiting for? You need to go check out Fright Night. And number 1 on my list is one of my all-time favorite movies of all time, and I think it's one of those ones that when it came out, people didn't know what to make of it, because it did have that, are you supposed to be laughing, are you supposed to be freaked out, but it balanced both perfectly for me, the humor and the horror, and that is An American Werewolf in London. I really don't think there's been a better werewolf film in my lifetime than this one. This is my favorite werewolf film of all time. There hasn't been one that I've seen that has topped it. It has a great cast. David Naughton is amazing. Griffin Dunn is amazing. I love the characters of David and Jack. It's such a heartbreaking film in some ways, and there's so much great humor in it and great special effects by Rick Baker. The werewolf, I still think, is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. In fact, this is still, I think, one of the scariest images of all time. Love American Werewolf in London. It's still one of my favorite films of all time. Not only my favorite werewolf film, but in my top 10 films of all time. Great film. My number 1 in terms of a horror comedy. And I hope everyone enjoyed this film. Claire, I hope send me your feedback on this. Tell me what you think about my picks. If you've haven't seen some of them, or if I know some of them were in your list, but just tell me what you think. And I appreciate everybody watching this. Have a good evening. Beware the moon.